Okay, hi everyone, Daryl here. So this is actually lesson 28 in my YouTube series Investing 101, and today we're going to talk about inflation and deflation. Okay, so a lot of you guys have heard about inflation and deflation, and I'm quite sure that like the majority of investors out there understand inflation and deflation. But let's just go through it, and then we'll touch on certain things which I think are quite important when you are looking at investing, and some people may overlook that. Okay, so inflation is actually a measure of the rate at which certain prices of certain goods increase over a period of time, and deflation is just the converse. So it's a measure of the rate at which prices of certain goods decreases over a period of time, and it's normally expressed as a percentage. So if let's say like housing prices are going up at the rate of 4% per annum, so that's housing prices inflating. So it goes up 4%, 4%, 4% per annum. Uh, Over a compound, and it's compounded. So like if you go up 4%, then after that next year, so at 100% you go up 4%, become 104%. Then it's 4% of 104%. So it just compounds. So inflation compounds and it's expressed as a percentage. So the converse is also true. So housing prices may also fall, let's say 4%, over a period of maybe 5 years. So every year it falls 4%. So it goes 4%, 4%, 4%, 4%. It just goes down. The prices of housing goes down, and that's considered as deflation in the housing market. Okay, so as prices rise, right, the same amount of money can buy less goods. So moderate inflation is seen as acceptable. Excessive inflation is not. So if you go to like Zimbabwe, right, the government prints a lot of money. So as time goes by, like a loaf of bread today can cost X dollars, but tomorrow it will cost like 2X, like twice the price. Why? Because money is printed so easily, and then there's a lot of money in the system, and then as the whole economy is flooded with money, right, money becomes less valuable. So the cost of goods for that same dollar, right, increases. Okay, so moderate inflation is seen as acceptable, but so that means like over time, maybe a loaf of bread in Singapore can increase from maybe like in the past, maybe it's like a dollar become $1.10, $1.20, $1.50, $1.80, and that's moderate inflation. Over time, over some time, prices increase. Okay, so inflation causes people to feel poorer as the value of money is eroded, and I'll explain actually in detail why it's important to understand rising or falling prices. Okay, so a lot of people say, hey, but prices keep increasing, then isn't that bad? Well, yes and no. In general, we do accept moderate inflation. That means over time, goods and services will increase in prices. Okay, you consider the psychology of having rising or falling prices. Okay, so you consider, let's say, the housing market. Okay, if you know that next year property prices are going to be cheaper or lower, will you buy today? You won't buy. So you'll hold off your purchase and wait for property prices to fall. Okay, the converse is true when there are a lot of reports out in the market saying that property prices will most probably rise over time. Let's say next year is going to rise. This year is going to rise by 4%. So a lot of people will say, I better buy now. If not, then in future, the prices will be higher by 4%. So I want to save that 4% I purchased today. So you understand in a positive property market, uh, people will say, I better buy now because tomorrow will be more expensive. But in a negative property market, people will say, I'm not going to buy now. I'm going to buy maybe tomorrow or the day after or next year because property prices are falling. But you must understand that it's very human nature. So I give you an example when there was a during the peak of the financial crisis, right, in 2008, property prices actually fell, and then after that, a lot of buyers they held off their purchases, even when property prices, some properties were out there in the market, and it was like really really good deals, right? I myself attended some auctions, then there were no bidders even for property prices that like uh, maybe really really prime area property like District 9, right, can be like uh, maybe like just above 1,000 plus per square foot, and then freehold, and then after that, it was out in the market, and then people were saying, okay, I'm putting this property out in the market, and then nobody was buying them because they were saying that, oh, the economy is so bad, right? Next year will crash again, following year will crash again. So at that point in time, I myself I made a purchase uh, of a property, commercial property, and a couple of years later I sold it off for uh, just about 500,000. But at that point in time, during the financial crisis in 2008, right, the property was going for 140 over thousand. So this 140 over thousand, right, was what I paid for the property. But at that point in time, right, even the banks were saying that we can't even value it at 140 plus thousand. So you must understand that because of uh, this psychological thing that a lot of buyers and sellers out there have, okay, economic cycles tend to go past what is rationally acceptable. So that means that maybe property prices are going to fall by maybe 10% only. But because a lot of people are anticipating that property prices will keep falling, so the correction is not 10%, the correction is maybe 20%. And that's where the opportunistic ones, they actually come in and they say, okay, I think past 10%, I'm willing to buy. And once it hits 10%, they will buy. Okay, so a lot of people, right, they cannot make uh, this decision in a disciplined manner, because when the price drops by 10%, they will say, I think it will drop some more. And then it drops by another 10%. And even when it's at 20% correction, right, they will still say, I think it's going to drop some more. So this is something which I would like to highlight to maybe like people who are out there looking for property, or people who are out there who are investing in stocks. It's important to understand that uh, because of rising or falling prices, people tend to overshoot uh, when it's falling, overshoot when it's going up. So the same is true in a inflationary manner. So that means when the market is very, very buoyant, and then after that, people will tend to say, okay, yeah, property prices are going to increase. So maybe on a rational note, based on how well the economy is doing, maybe property prices are only supposed to increase like 2% per annum. But because of uh, buyers' irrationality, they don't look at the financials. They don't look at the fundamentals. Sorry, they don't look at the fundamentals, but instead they look at the possibility that they will buy more expensive tomorrow. So they rush in and buy. Because you rush in and buy, you push the price up as well. And when the price goes up, then they will say, you see, luckily I bought early. If not, I would have paid more. Then they go and tell their friends. Then their friends will say, yes, I spoke to so and so said that he bought early. That's why he saved some money. And then after that, they go out and then they say, okay, I think I better buy now also. So this uh, positive feeling gets spread among everyone, and maybe rationally the market is supposed to increase by 2%, but because everyone is pushing prices up because they have this fear of missing out, then they push prices to maybe a 4% increase per annum for property prices. The same thing for the stock market. So I've been there before, whereby I set an entry point, and then when the stock hits the entry point, right, uh, because you can set like a order to enter the stock at a certain price. Once the stock is coming close to that price, right, I tend to rethink my entry point, and I tend to try to put it lower so that I can buy just a couple of cents cheaper. But then uh, after a while, I also tend to miss the opportunity because I adjusted my my order. Maybe I didn't buy that counter. So it's intrinsic in us, right, that we want to buy something on the cheap, but property prices going to drop so much, or stock prices going to drop so much. That's debatable. But because of how inflation and deflation works, and psychologically, buyers and sellers out there, we tend to overdo things. This is just human nature. There are always opportunities in economic cycles. So you can always see that some people are constantly making money in the stock market or the property market, and some people tend to find it very difficult. And what they do is that they go for many courses, and they attend many lessons, and then they go for many seminars, but yet they can't make money in the property or stock market. So this is just a short presentation on inflation and deflation, but more importantly is consider the psychology of having rising or falling prices. Okay, so because prices are going to fall, people will hold off their purchases, and this will in turn accelerate the rate of falling, or make the fall even worse. Okay, so consider the psychology of having rising or falling prices, then understand this as an investor, and then learn to be satisfied with uh, a certain price which you've already had in your mind, and then try not to overdo things when the market is in a buoyant cycle as well. So that's all from me for this lesson, and I'll see you at the next video.